Yeah, thank you. Welcome all to this session entitled Marketing Your PA Service. We'll be recording this session to share with all delegates afterwards. So please keep this in mind when posting on chat. When you're not speaking, please ensure your camera is off and your mics are muted. We'd like this session to be as engaging as possible. Our speakers are here with us today, as well as in the recording that we're just about to play. So please think of some nice, interesting questions for them, not too difficult. You can raise your hand at the end, or you can post your comment during the recording. First, just one or two words about the actual session itself. What is it? It's one of a series that we'll be producing, and this particular one is focused on sharing practical approaches to elements of the marketing mix of a service, such as primary authority. It's aimed at PA providers, local authorities, fire and rescue services, who often have limited knowledge or experience in marketing. And this sometimes can be a limitation on partnership growth. But it's also, we think, useful for existing and established PA providers. It's based on the 7 Ps approach to marketing of services, which we'll go into in the recording. And this particular first module will be a focus on the elements of product and promotion, not price like we advertised. So it's product and promotion. And my ask, and my colleagues' ask, is please give feedback. Please do get involved. The 3 speakers, or the 4 speakers, I should say, put quite a lot of work into it. So great if you can compliment them by engaging, by thinking of some nice comments or some questions. And also please get involved in future modules of this. The 9 Ps, as I say, will be presented in the recording. So if you're particularly interested in any of these elements of the marketing mix, you can email me and I can put my email in the comments. So Nick, whenever you're ready, could we go ahead and play the recording? Hello. Welcome to Module 1 of Marketing Your PA Service. We're aware from engaging with those active in primary authority that the sharing of experiences and processes has provided practical help and support to users and providers of PA. We're also aware that many PA providers have little experience or knowledge of marketing, and this can, in some cases, limit opportunities to expand their PA presence. This work aims to go some way towards filling this knowledge gap, and we aim to do this by following an established marketing framework. This framework is called the 7 Ps approach, and we'll also be highlighting a range of practical approaches to the marketing of primary authority. But first, some quick references to marketing theory, which I'm hoping should help give us some context to this work. As far back as 1960, an author, Jerome McCarthy, first founded the concept of the 4 Ps of the marketing mix. And these were product, price, promotion, and place. More recently, in 1981, the 4 Ps were extended to the 7 Ps approach by Bernard Booms and Mary Bittner. This approach included the original 4 Ps and extended them to include a further 3 factors: physical evidence, people, and processes. All 7 of these controllable elements of a marketing mix can be clearly aligned with a service such as primary authority. If you're curious and want to gain more knowledge in this area, you could refer to this book called Principles of Service Marketing, now in its 7th edition. This is an older 4th edition. And it's written by Professor Adrian Palmer of Henley Business School. In this first module, we're going to look at examples of marketing approaches from a range of PA providers, and these will be centered on just 2 of the 7 Ps. Those are product and promotion. So we have Ruth Rhodes and Paige Cottam from Wakefield Council joining us now. Ruth is a chartered environmental health practitioner, and she's team manager in commercial services in Wakefield Council. And Paige Cottam is business compliance advisor in the environmental health section under business advice and training. welcome to you both, and thank you both for volunteering to be involved in this marketing project. Really appreciate your presence. We're going to start off with Ruth. Ruth, could you maybe introduce your council to us? Maybe tell us how many partnerships you have, that sort of thing.
So thank you for having us. We have been active in primary authority since the beginning. We joined our service with West Yorkshire Joint Services, which for the purposes of primary authority is trading standards, and that happened in 2019. And so through all of those shared services, we have 83 primary authority partnerships.
Thanks for that, Ruth. So it looks like that you're certainly one of the more active local authorities in our scheme with your 83 partnerships. My next question is, how do you describe the scheme to others, to potential users? And do you offer a different offer to different segments? And do you focus in on any particular business sectors?
So our primary authority offer is part of a larger commercial offer to businesses. Within Wakefield Council and going out across West Yorkshire Joint Services, we've sort of got a brand within a brand almost, which is about here for business. And that very much, the title does what it says on the tin, in that we have a lot more than just primary authority services set up to help businesses operate commercially as much as possible. So although we do have a big primary authority offer, we actually do that as part of a bigger offer, which all gels together really in terms of how we recruit our primary authority partnerships. We don't particularly look at a sector. Wakefield traditionally is, well, obviously we think it's the centre of England, but in terms of its logistic network, it is. So we're really close to the 62, the M1, plus the mainline train services as well. So we've got really large hubs for business, such as logistics. And so our original primary authority base came from that sector, such as K&N Drinks Logistics, sort of the Next warehouses, Morrison's warehouses, Asda, all came from that hub approach really. And then I guess we developed our specialisms around sort of transportation, also the food sector. And from that naturally came some of our coordinated partnerships, such as the BFFF, which is the British Frozen Food Federation. And then from the trading standards element, again, it's this unique selling point with the dispute resolution, of which they're one of only 3 in the country to offer that. So that's a really good selling point. And again, we've had a lot of PA businesses come to us on the back of requests for service, advice, and then we've obviously spoken to them about other things that we can offer them.
Thanks, Ruth, for that. And it's really interesting to find out how or where rather the PA scheme fits within your larger picture of business support. We're going to move on now to your colleague Paige with some promotion questions. Just to remind viewers that we're following the general structure of the 7 Ps approach, but we're trying to follow or just focus in on the first 2 of the Ps, and that is product and promotion. So we just finished product in Wakefield and now we're coming on to promotion. Paige, can you tell me anything about your promotion activities regarding the primary authority scheme under maybe some general headings like advertising, promotion, if you get involved in that, maybe some events, any PR activity that you do, or indeed any personal selling?
The majority of the advertising that we do for our PA offer is done predominantly through his website. We like to focus a lot on the businesses that we already work with so that prospective businesses can see what we've got to offer and the type of work that we already do. I think it's probably puts businesses at ease to see what businesses we're already working with and gives them an idea of what we're capable of doing and what we can give for them as well. In terms of promotion, it's more done through sort of cross-selling. So as Ruth said earlier on, we also do training and we do consultancy and advice services. So we work really closely with all kinds of businesses, and you do build quite a personal relationship with them. So it's a lot easier to sell the sort of idea of a primary authority partnership to businesses through that and just through word of mouth and having that conversation with them. We also do have things like business cards and leaflets and things like that, which then also do obviously make that personal touch a little bit easier because you can leave them with it. And I think it's important to make it really clear how businesses can actually get in touch with you if they are interested, which again is easier said than done. I think it's all right having a website if no one knows how to get in touch with you.
Thanks for that, Paige. And it's interesting, and I've heard before that word of mouth and referrals are so important. And I suppose they're important because PA, after all, is based on personal relationships and trust. I wonder what the level of is, maybe could be a good discussion point for anybody listening to this recording. I wonder how many partnerships you need to have in a council before word of mouth starts becoming a significant factor. Maybe that's something that we can go into a little bit more depth in the future in some of our network structures. One final question, Paige. You mentioned unique selling points before. Can you give us an idea of what some of your unique selling points are that you've identified?
Yeah, I think our unique selling point is more sort of our departmental ethos, which is to be business minded but socially responsible. And I think that is ingrained in sort of every project charter and every marketing strategy that we do. So all the staff, PA officers and everything, we sort of really do embody that, I think, in the work that they do. We really do try to come at things from an advisory and a helpful and a supportive perspective rather than an enforcement perspective. Even when the environmental health officers are involved, it is a really supportive environment. And I think, as Ruth said before, the brand that we've got within Wakefield Council, the Here for Business brand, does exactly what it says on the tin. And it's probably a luxury that we have as well, that we've got a whole team of PA officers rather than it all just being on one person. I think it makes it a lot easier to have that supportive network and that supportive team behind a project.
And now we're going to speak with Mark Peacock. Mark is Business Support and Innovation Manager, Trading Standards in Devon, Plymouth, Somerset and Torbay Trading Standards. Hi, Mark. And my first question to you, Mark, is maybe you can just give us a flavour of your shared services, your size, maybe how many people are in your team, how many officers you have active in Primary Authority scheme.
We have approximately nearly 40 members of staff in our business support and innovation team in Trading Standards. And we're very fortunate. We have a number of primary authority businesses that have a partnership with us. And servicing those partnerships, we have 7 Trading Standards officers that are customer relationship managers, that their role is predominantly to help their businesses and develop their partnerships. And we have 45 primary authority businesses, and we also have 4 businesses that have a joint primary authority offer with us with environmental health, and that's in partnership with our district local authorities in providing a joint food and trading standards partnership.
We're Surfing Cow Ice Cream. We're a small artisan ice cream producer. We're based in South Devon, just down the road from Mothercombe Beach, and we make small batch ice cream using the milk from the cows on our farm. We've had a primary authority partnership since 2018. That's since we first started the business. Setting up a business from the ground, from absolutely nothing, meant that we were facing a lot of hurdles that we didn't know how to get over. For example, the names of our ice cream, the labelling. These are all things that we didn't know what information needed to be included. So it was really great to be able to ask for some advice and know that we were getting the right answers. Having a partnership with Devon, Plymouth, Somerset and Torbay Trading Standards has allowed us to be confident whilst we're expanding our business. There are so many areas that we need to look at, one of which being our printed pots. There's lots of different information that you need to include, And we know that we can call up trading standards, ask the question, find out exactly what we need to have on the pot, and they're always at the end of the phone. They always answer emails really quickly, and they're just absolutely fantastic for every bit of information that we need.
Thanks, Mark, for that insight. Can you tell us how you describe your primary authority service and whether or not you focused in on any particular business sectors?
Primary authority businesses that are partnered with us. Predominantly, we have food businesses, 22 food businesses. We have 17 product safety related businesses that import or manufacture products, and the rest are made up through agriculture, as you would assume in Devon.
I'm the Quality and Compliance Manager here for Toolstream Limited. We're one of the UK's fastest growing tool companies with over 6,000 products which we export to territories all over the world. Our compliance needs are quite great, given that our range extends anything from a screwdriver to fully certified fall arrest equipment. Primary authority is great for us. It means we have one point of contact, and if an issue ever presents itself, I know the person who's going to call me, and they in turn know our business. It also means we don't have to deal with each individual authority when each individual case turns up. This relationship with our local team means that in the event of a case being raised, they are fully up to speed with our processes, and as a team we're able to resolve things much quicker, which is great for us and, most importantly, the consumer. Our local Trading Standards office have worked with us to put together a very bespoke service. We've asked them to come in recently and to audit all our internal functions. Hopefully we'll be getting third-party audits conducted as part of our primary authority partnership. Due diligence for us is the most important part. With an ever-changing compliance landscape, they help keep us at the forefront of compliance. It's great to have a team that we can quickly bounce issues off and get a definitive answer. Some businesses may be put off inviting trading standards in. There is an element of fear, of course, when you hear about trading standards. We've found nothing but the opposite. All they want to do is help us to be compliant first time, and we've never had any problems.
So for us, primary authority really is, because it's nationally recognised, because it has a lot of national reach, we're able to service primary authority partnerships across the country. And I think one of the head offices of one of our PAs is in Nottingham. So in a nutshell, I would say that we offer a very high quality tailored support service through primary authority that has that national reach, which we're very proud of.
Mark, can you give us any idea of the culture in your organisation, how it might have changed over the years and how it fits or doesn't fit with the primary authority scheme?
So yes, it's been an enormous culture shift. We've gone from being very regulatory focused in terms of looking after our home authority relationships, our home authority businesses, and then developing primary authority over the past, I'd say, 6 to 8 years, really. So having that buy-in by staff really is the success of primary authority. And what primary authorities needed in terms of getting that culture shift across the line, we've really needed to sort of have a clear purpose and intention about primary authority. What is it we're trying to achieve? What is it that we want to do now and in the future? And what do we need to do within the service to make that a success? So it's not just about income generation. Of course, that's very important for many councils, including our own. It's not just about improving compliance across trade sectors, our businesses, but it's also about having clarity about what PA is offering, and it's about really providing some really good quality business support and developing and driving and helping businesses to grow and develop. And that's where we've gone from. That's our transition, I would say, certainly in our joint service.
Thanks, Mark, for that. And it's interesting to hear about culture change and how it's often linked with this scheme. I feel sure that could be an interesting future discussion topic, and perhaps current discussion topic with anyone listening to this recording. Can you give us any idea? So far we've sort of concentrated on the product element of the marketing mix. If we move on to the second element, that of promotion, Mark, can you give us any idea if you ventured into any of the major areas of promotion, for example, advertising, promotion, direct selling, any PR activities?
So yes, of course. I think there's a lot more we could be doing. to tell the truth, in terms of PR, where we don't have a dedicated primary authority budget for marketing. What we try and do is identify opportunities where we can showcase our partners in certain aspects of their work. So we are fortunate that we have a few really good, experienced marketing people that for use across the service that help us with our project work, and they've produced some excellent videos with our primary authority partnership businesses to show the value of it, really, to them. We were going to try and have a stand at the last year's Business Expo in Birmingham. Of course, COVID hit and we couldn't do that. So there are some things that we haven't been able to do, high profile showcasing of our PA offer. But we do have those, we do identify those opportunities, and hopefully when we take our 50th primary authority business on board, there'll be some press release of some sort, and we will be able to do a piece of write-up on businesses that have partnered with us over the years.
Thanks, Mark, and I'm glad that you mentioned videos. You've just reminded me. I think you're being a little bit humble about your performance on that front. The videos that we've seen, and my colleagues, have been very impressive coming from your services. Finally, Mark, do you think that PA users, i.e. businesses, for example, have a role to play in promoting the PA scheme?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, PA businesses are the end users, aren't they? They're recipients of a very high quality level of support. So they are very much ambassadors for primary authority, and I think through survey work we can capture feedback from them to make our service better. I was going to say that actually that the success of one business receiving primary authority support, having a good experience, that actually that would proliferate, that would kind of have a knock-on effect in that trade sector. It gives them the upper edge with their competitors, and therefore the competitors want to also be able to sort of have that support from a regulator. The business themselves becoming ambassadors for primary authority, and having the opportunity for us to shout about them as much as for them to shout about us in Devon. So very important relationship building. It's a two-way situation.
And now we're going to speak with Michelle Manson, who is Business Team Manager in Buckinghamshire and Surrey Trading Standards. Hello, Michelle. Michelle, before we cover how you promote the primary authority scheme within your shared service, can you explain how you describe your different primary authority offers?
Hi, Neil. Yeah, thanks. We provide several different packages to choose from for primary authority. From the start, we offered pay-as-you-go, fixed fee and bespoke. And more recently, we added an easy 1, 2, 3 option to introduce smaller businesses to try out partnerships. They all include a setup fee, an annual renewal, plus they're based in an hourly rate. So pay-as-you-go is what's in the title. It's an initial setup fee followed by an annual renewal and a payment for work completed. Fixed fee is 17 hours for the price of 15, and that's just one fixed annual fee. Bespoke are partnerships that are designed and individually quoted for generally larger businesses or those with more complex projects in mind. And the newest one is the set price Easy 1, 2, 3, which is £195 for businesses with one location in Bucks or Surrey, less than 2 FTEs and trading for less than 3 years. And that includes 3 hours of either trading standards, environmental health or fire advice. So you can see that's set up to try and introduce little businesses into primary authority.
Thanks, Michelle. And those options seem really clear, especially the way you've described them. Very flexible approach to include particularly small businesses. Michelle, can you tell us, do you focus your efforts on promoting the scheme to any specific sectors of business?
We don't specifically target any sector, but we do assess every application or potential partnership to ensure that we can resource it effectively from the experience that we have. We've also found out that while some businesses prefer to be with an authority that has other like businesses, some have specifically said that they're uncomfortable working with an authority that's already working with their direct competitors. That said, we found that over 80% of our existing partnerships have got some element of food standards or food safety, and more recently we've developed a number of CBD related partnerships, so sometimes it can follow that way.
Thanks, Michelle. We've certainly noticed from our perspective a rise in applications from the CBD sector. The next question is, can you share with us, Michelle, how you describe or promote or even report on the primary authority scheme and your activities internally within your organisation?
Okay, often the measures or the default measures used for primary authority are the number of partnerships and the income generated. But this is a relatively blunt tool as it matters what each partnership delivers, and this is not easily measured. So internally, we focus on primary authority being an effective alternative route to compliance, how it supports the local economy and the good reputation we have had nationally for primary authority. So this includes joint service board, committee papers and internal performance reports. We'll use every opportunity to connect what we do to the corporate priorities of each council. So, for example, in Surrey County Council's 2030 vision for place, they want businesses to thrive. Whilst in the Buckinghamshire Council 2021 to 23, they also want businesses to thrive. So we can use primary authority as an example of how we directly support these objectives.
Thank you. Can you tell us some ways you engage in the promotion of the primary authority scheme? For example, under advertising activity, personal selling, sales promotion, or any PR activity?
We have a joint service website which is hosted within the Surrey County Council website, and we've recently revamped those pages for accessibility. We use that revamp as an opportunity to look at the customer journey and the usage of those pages, although it tends to be fairly low because it's a county council page. So we're also working on including written and video testimonials, and we've made sure that local economic partnerships, chambers of commerce, districts and boroughs actually link through to our web page as well, and where possible mention primary authority. From an individual selling point of view, we don't tend to do many proactive sales now. We find that most of the main routes for new partnerships are referrals from existing partners or members of staff who've moved from a successful partnership to a new business, or even the OPSS expressions of interest forms. We'll tend to find new partnerships that way. But all of our staff in environmental health, fire and trading standards are familiar with primary authority and will mention it if they feel that it's relevant. So before COVID, we used to do some business expos and displays, and we had brochures and display stands, and we're revamping those for when they resume. And I think our first expo is going to be a Grow Your Business show in September this year. So we also, when we're talking to a prospective partner, we might offer them the opportunity to talk to one of our existing partners, so a reference of sort, and that tends to go down quite well. We'll support our new and existing partners with publicity where they feel that it's relevant, so we don't usually put out an article ourselves, but we'll support with quotes. Sometimes that might be a press release or sector magazine. Some of them get really excited when they've signed up to a partnership. For example, for the most recent training from ACI for trading standards officers, we provided a speaker for that event and helped to publicise it. So we're working towards welcoming every new partnership via our social media streams. We don't do that just yet, but we will be. And we look for opportunities to promote primary authority in general. So we celebrated our 100th member with publicity by working with one of our partners to install a sensory garden in a children's facility and revitalise a garden in a children's residential home. And obviously for things like this, we work jointly with OPSS to promote primary authority, both within the profession and other events.
Thanks, Michelle. And it's interesting that you mentioned referrals rather the importance of referrals rather than relying on direct selling efforts. And this has come up in other recordings. From our perspective, trying to manage this game, it's always good news for us when somebody moves and that person takes this game with them to the new organization. Finally, Michelle, can you tell us if you've identified or been able to identify any unique selling points that your organization can offer in the context of this game?
Yes, thanks, Neil. As you know, Buckinghamshire and Surrey Trading Standards are very experienced providers of primary authority support. We now have over 130 trading standards partnerships, and when you combine that with the single point of contact arrangements, we now manage 190 different partnerships, and every single one of them is individual to a business. With authorities being more developed in the field and more joining, I don't think that I can say that any USP is still unique for us now. But the points that we do highlight are the size of the joint service and how it enables us to have specialised officers, 2 geographical locations, our good reputation, and our single point of contact offer that incorporates trading standards, fire, environmental health, devolved legislation, and access to advice, even if not primary authority advice from Guernsey, Scotland, and a bank of expert consultants. That really seems to capture the interest of businesses.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for your time and for sharing your experiences of this game with us. Thank you all for sharing your experiences and your approaches in these first 2 elements of the marketing mix that we'll be following in a series of recordings. I think it'll be very useful for anyone listening to these recordings to hear from all of your perspectives. So thank you, Michelle Manson, Mark Peacock, Ruth Rhodes, and Paige Cotton. Thank you.
No problem at all. Happy to be involved. Take care and thank you.
Thank you for inviting us to be involved. It's been really interesting.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me, and always a pleasure to talk about primary authority. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Nick, for playing that recording. Hopefully you can all hear me. There's so much to glean from that. So many nuggets of experience and good practice. For example, the importance of cross-selling rather than specific promotion activity, the importance of word of mouth, the use of potential using existing business partners to speak to potential business partners, and it's all on a recording. So it has actually been played, this recording, at 2 or 3 PA regional groups already, and we plan to share it across the rest of the regional groups as well. We've had some questions, thank you very much, and you're also very welcome to raise your hands. Michelle, I think I'll direct the first question that I saw in comments to you, if you don't mind. It's from Helen Atkinson. In relation to cost recovery, would primary authorities include the cost of marketing within the hourly rate that they charge back to the business partners? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but I thought you'd be a good one, particularly as you coordinated the cost recovery survey report.
Yes, everything that you provide in order to provide primary authority can form part of your cost recovery calculations. So therefore, marketing that you do in order to promote primary authority should be factored into your hourly rate. Originally, when we first started primary authority, I know that some authorities did a kind of a sign-up fee, which incorporated however much time they had spent in marketing to that business and in doing initial interviews, etc. But generally speaking, it's easier if you work out what your marketing budget is, how much you're going to spend on it, and then build it into your standard hourly rate. Okay.
Thanks, Michelle. Does anybody else want to comment on that, Mark or Ruth or Paige, on that question? And if not, I'll move on to the next question. We have another question from Michelle Bucknell. It says, it's actually directed at you, Mark, if you're still here. Do your customer relationship managers commit to delivering a certain number of hours of primary authority work for the year, and or plan that work, plan what work will be carried out for that business for the year ahead, or is it more reactive work during the year?
Hi Neil, good to speak to you. I've kind of answered it slightly in the chat there. So it's a bit of both, really. I mean, clearly responding to business need is imperative, and businesses will change and develop throughout the year and need varying levels of regulatory support. But what's crucial that we found is having that review at the beginning of the year, sitting down with the business and looking at the year just gone and the year ahead, and setting some clear objectives. And I've kind of given a couple of examples. It might be something simple as reducing complaints, but also looking horizon scanning, looking at new products in the future. And we've got changes in food legislation with pre-pack for direct sale. There might be some issues there that my customer relationship manager officers will be able to help with from a trading standards point of view. So I think it's a bit of both. It's pre-planning and it's responding, but clearly for us really it is really around providing a quality service, and that's the crucial thing. I mean, going back to the previous question about marketing, we perhaps don't factor in a lump of money into our our hourly rate for marketing. It's kind of part of our overall business support offer in providing bespoke, tailored, chargeable support. So it's still in development for us. There's still a lot of more things to do, more challenges ahead. But I think it's something we can take forward for next year. We've just increased our fees very slightly, in line with inflation. So I think everyone's in the same boat in trying to keep up with everything. But that answers the questions. Any other questions at all?
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to go straight on to another question, but thanks for coming on screen. I hadn't noticed that you'd also commented in the comments. Thank you. Michelle, one for you. Back to you, Michelle. From Michelle Bucknell. It says, hi, Michelle. Do your officers who deliver business advice services also carry out enforcement activities, or is enforcement kept separate to business advice?
So I'm very lucky in Bucks and Surrey that the business team's main focus is on business advice, whether that be primary authority or other business advice. But that said, an officer may have a mix of enforcement activities and business advice where we support other projects or we support other teams with work. What I would seek to avoid is an officer having both enforcement and primary authority for the same business. So we would separate those out so that there isn't any link. And where possible, we would have the enforcement done in a different team.
Thanks, Michelle. And maybe I can add, the responsibility for marketing this scheme doesn't just lie with the PA providers, although we think the real strengths lie there with the providers, hearing it from the horse's mouth, as it were. It also lies on our shoulders in the Office for Product Safety and Standards. And just to give you some examples of the sort of things that we engage in, obviously we have a lot of supportive material on gov.uk in terms of templates and videos and case studies and guidance, as well as statutory guidance. We involve ourselves in a lot of free training. A lot of free training is given to local authorities and fire and rescue services in order to promote the scheme. Also to enforcing authorities recently, that's an emphasis that is probably worth repeating. Our latest effort is up in Scotland, offering to enforcing authorities there, and I believe the uptake is pretty good there. Events such as this can only help share good practice, I think, and as well as the structures that we put in place in the last 18 months, like the PA regional groups and the PA business group, which are far more wide-reaching than previous structures were, again, sharing good practice. I can't see any other questions, but I do have a question perhaps for Ruth Rhodes and Paige. I know in your presentations, in my chat with you on the recording, you mentioned that word of mouth and cross-selling are particularly important for you. And I was wondering, at what stage does word of mouth become important? Do you need 10 partnerships, 20 partnerships, 30 partnerships in order for word of mouth to start becoming a fruitful avenue for new partnerships? But also, if you can elaborate a little bit more about cross-selling. Over to you, Ruth.
Hiya. I think that word of mouth, as we sort of referenced in the video, really, it does have that tipping point, and it does help if you're involved in things other than primary authority. So, for example, in your backdrop there, you've got about Better Business for All, you know, myself and trading standards colleagues in this area have both been involved in Better Business for All over many years, and so just having that wide network really of business contacts is really helpful and really important. And I know that my colleagues and the other PA lead group, so Michelle and Mark, they do the same, in that it's not just about being really blinkered in one area. It's about that total business offer and just having those business related conversations, because a lot of people, I think, in the business world, as well as our own regulatory world and within councils, don't necessarily understand the concept of primary authority as two words. It's more about what that means to them, and that's why, so for example, Mark's videos are so good, because they actually explain in really easy language what the benefits are to that business. And that's, I mean, me personally, I need to get better at that, and you know, our offer needs to be advertised in a much easier way, I think. But back to your question in terms of the numbers, I don't know. I've thought long and hard of it, and I don't know if there is an exact number. So that's a really rubbish answer. It does get to a particular tipping point when you've got so many business contacts that then it just naturally rolls on, I think. Paige, I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that.
I would agree with that, everything that you've said. I think it does get to a point where they sort of just crop up, don't they? They roll on from your reputation.
And of course, we would be short if we didn't mention the business awards that we've got. I know there's a few of my colleagues on the call, and so that is really helpful about spreading word of mouth. And just sort of saying how good the offer is, and certainly internally, when you talk about internal advertising to elected members, to chief execs, etc., that sort of advertising is crucial, because they do talk to a lot of key accounts. Our economic growth team do manage the incoming and the inward investment into Wakefield, and so having those contacts and having them sell it on our behalf, that's really crucial, actually.
Thanks, Ruth and Paige. And it was interesting in the recording just to note that primary authority schemes is just one part of what you offer in terms of the whole picture of business support. And I think that's one of the beauties of primary authority. It's a voluntary scheme. You don't have to enter into the scheme. So it's certainly one valid avenue for achieving compliance and getting to understand the real needs of businesses. I see there's a hand up here from Alex Baker. Alex, are you there?
Hi Neil, it's Alex from Wakefield Council. It's just a question for Mark Peacock. So Mark touched on culture change towards primary authority in some detail, which I thought was quite interesting. And I'm a firm believer, if something can be measured, it can be managed. I just wondered if Mark could give some examples in terms of those objectives that they set across the team, in terms of how they've seen obviously success and return investment from those objectives to influence that change in culture.
I think the objectives are fairly wide, really. Do you mean financial objectives, or do you mean generally how do we know when we've hit our objectives for primary authority?
Yeah, so when you talked about the culture change in terms of primary authority, how are you measuring that success? Obviously, you know, is it quarterly? Is it biannually? What kind of trends and themes are you looking at as part of that PA offering to see the change in culture around PA?
One of the things we've done recently and we'll probably do it again, is to survey our primary authority members and ask them how they feel we're doing and what else we need to do in the future. So that's yielded some very positive results for us in terms of the way that we're going, the way we're delivering our service and response times, etc. I'd say the culture change, we've got some very experienced officers that have grown up from the home authority principle, where we wouldn't dare to charge businesses anything. So that culture change has changed in the last sort of 10, 15 years or so. And those officers appreciate now that their training and expertise is actually worth something, and they can deliver a really good experience for those businesses. It means a lot to the businesses. It means that they can develop and grow and overcome regulatory burdens when they crop up. And you see it in the offices when you speak to them, that they've been able to actively participate and help a business overcome a particular, for example, labelling issue. And you can see sort of professional development in those offices when they have positively made a really good difference to that business that they are responsible for delivering primary authority to. So in terms of, you can't really measure that, it's a gut feeling, but I think the surveys that we've carried out with our primary authorities is probably one of the key areas that we know, and getting feedback in terms of that we're hitting the right notes and we've got the right objectives set for the future. Does that answer your question?
No, that answers my question. So just another quick question. So in terms of things like case studies, do you find those add value to that piece in terms of when you're then obviously consulting with businesses towards the end of the financial year, just to understand what positive kind of outcomes that PA piece has had, whether it be on their business or somebody else's?
Yeah, so we're quite lucky. I mean, we've shown a few videos and we're making some more. And we've found that has provided a really good platform, really, not just to sell the business and the success of the business and what they're doing in Devon or throughout outside of Devon, but also it shows obviously the quality and value of the service they're receiving. So case studies are really excellent, and we usually speak to those businesses that we think we've got good rapport with. That's really critical. And one of the key things really is with our first officers, the TSOs that are working closely with those businesses, that they have good rapport with the operations manager or a quality manager, the officer who's authorised in that business to engage with us on primary authority matters. And that makes a huge difference, because there's trust there between us as regulators and them as a business in terms of getting it right first time. So case studies are crucial, really, and we need to do that more next year in marketing those businesses that are really want to work with us in primary authority. So
superb, thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex and Mark. We've gone a little over time, but I'm glad we have. I think it's been worthwhile. Certainly in having these conversations and recording them, I've learned a lot, and I think my colleagues have as well. The insights are very useful. My ask, again, just to repeat myself one more time, if there's any local authorities out there or fire and rescue services listening in now, if you'd like to be part of the next module, we'll be focusing on price and place, and I'm sure we can have many more interesting conversations in developing this series. I think this one and future ones will act as a useful resource. They've already been useful in sharing across the PA regional groups. Final thanks to my colleague Nick for supporting this session. Thank you, Nick. And also to those who have asked questions, thank you. It makes such a difference when there's a little bit of engagement going on, doesn't it? And of course, thank you to the speakers, Michelle, Mark, Ruth and Paige. Thank you so much.